In 1878, an English photographer named Edward Muybridge was assigned to take pictures of a horse. He took 12 separate pictures of the horse to prove that while running, all four hooves lifted off the ground, but when shown in a sequence, the horse appears to be running, producing the first ever moving image. This gave many people an idea. People started to experiment with moving images. For the next couple years, inventors from across the globe started to use this technology of stringing pictures together. Filmmakers such as Thomas Edison and the Lumiere brothers were seen as the best to use this new mechanism, as they were the ones who produced the best movies, such as Boxing Cats in 1894. Fast forward a couple years, the early 20th century was around the time movies took a more narrative role. Films became increasingly complex, and storytelling movies began to show up. Writers put thought into what the film should focus on. Movies were evolving from just attractions to art pieces, like books or a show. Famous movies of the early 20th century were A Trip to the Moon, The Great Train Robbery, and The Birth of a Nation, each one being about 13 minutes long. Now, everything might seem great, but movies up until the 1920s had major unfortunate similarities. Every movie looked like there was a ton of static. Movies didn't have sound, plus, movies were filmed in a wide shot, with little editing or close-ups. The actors would perform in front of the camera, and that was it. Now, this might seem bad, but this static shot method was perfect for one thing: comedy. In the 1920s, actors such as Buster Keaton and Charlie Chaplin were the best at performative comedy, making films like Limelight, 30 Years of Fun, and 1 Week. While these entertainers were doing well, something bigger was happening overseas, a development that would change film forever. Russia. In the 1920s, a man named Lev Kuleshov, a Russian filmmaker, did an experiment. He figured out the audience did not have to be told how a person was feeling, and the person did not have to act sad either. He just had to show some other clips, and the audience filled the rest themselves. For example, look at this man. Do you know what he is feeling? Probably not, but how about now? If you said sad, that would be correct. This added a whole new layer to filmmaking named the Kuleshov effect. But could directors create emotional stories just with editing? They could. This was called Soviet montage. A Russian filmmaker named Sergei Eisenstein was making movies the audience could feel emotion, even without sound. Meanwhile, the Americans were working on something even bigger. In 1927, Alan Crosland released a movie called The Jazz Singer. It had one big thing other movies didn't.
You don't know just how sad it makes me. Kiss me pretty and then.
Sound. People called movies with sound talkies. No, not the Chips. Sound made the American industry blow up in popularity. Film industries started to build sets and studios to film in, creating the foundation on how we film movies today. And then the Big Five were born. Those 5 studios were MGM, Paramount, RKO, Warner Bros., and 20th Century Fox. This started a new era of filmmaking named the Golden Age of Hollywood. Fast forward to the 1930s. Color was added. Color film added a whole new layer to movies. Filmmakers figured out the psychological effect that different shades of color had on their audiences. Color theory was born. Alfred Hitchcock took the Soviet montage and added his own artistic flair and genius to create some of the greatest films of all time, like Psycho, Rear Window, To Catch a Thief, and Strangers on a Train. Hitchcock created filmmaking techniques that we see in almost every movie today, like using camera movement to build suspense and creating suspense by showing the audience the threat before the character knows. This is why he was known as the master of suspense. However, the golden age wouldn't last forever. Something was wrong about the American studio system. Block booking. Well, what is that? Well, it means the studio system had control of both the production of their movies and the movie theaters too. In order to screen, well, let's say The Wizard of Oz, you had to sign a deal with MGM, their production studio, to show every single movie that MGM made that year. But later on, the United States Department of Justice filed a lawsuit in what was known as the Paramount case in 1948. This banned block booking. The golden age of film finally came to an end. So Hollywood took a big risk in the mid-1960s to the mid-1980s. Audiences were changing, so studios began hiring young filmmakers. This started the new Hollywood movement. Movies like Jaws, The Exorcist, The Shining, and even Star Wars were all creations of the new Hollywood movement. These motion pictures were films with unique storytelling, special effects, interesting ideas, and use of animatronics. Speaking of special effects, it began to dominate the film industry. Every blockbuster action movie just had to have explosions. CGI became more popular with movies like Terminator and Jurassic Park. In the 2000s, CGI kept getting more popular as the technology advanced. Because of this, superhero movies became popular. Recording shifted from film to digital cameras. Now cinema can be enjoyed through streaming services and home devices. Present day. How will movies continue to evolve? How will AI impact the future of the film industry? Will films become more interactive or personalized? Will virtual reality take cinema to a whole new level of realism? Or has Hollywood's creativity reached its peak? Will we be stuck with live-action remakes because Disney can't think of original ideas anymore? Well, whatever the future holds, I just hope it's entertaining.